Good morning, beautiful people. Welcome back to Spill the Tea Lou. Happy Monday, happy nearly Christmas. I hope everybody is feeling very merry and bright, unlike us Manchester United fans, because we have faced another loss. Now, what I will say, to be honest, I'm not feeling that dramatic. I've seen actually quite a wide range of reactions from Manchester United fans to the match last night. Obviously, you're always disappointed when your team loses. Obviously, when you're watching your team play, you always want them to win. Last night was the very first game of the season where I went into it, and I said it actually to guests. Some of you will know guests, are one of our mods on the channel. I said to guests last night before the match, this is the first match all season that I'm going into feeling genuinely we are going to lose. Every other match we've gone into, I might think it's unlikely. I might think, it's improbable. The other team are the favourites, but I always feel like we have a chance. Going into last night's match was the first time, game week 17, that I felt, nah, we are not winning this. Aston Villa are going to win this match. Now, there's a number of reasons behind that, because there were so many people that were feeling so positive, and I love that. I love people feeling positive. I am never going to get down on anyone for feeling positive and feeling like Manchester United can get a win here, because that's our job as fans, is to feel a bit hopelessly optimistic, to feel a bit deluded, and to hope and want your team to win. So I'm never going to criticise anyone for that. But last night, I just felt like, So look, a lot of people were looking at the fact that Villa have not beaten us at that stadium in 30 years. Once in 30 years, they've beaten us at that stadium. So our record against them there is so good. It's unbelievably good. So I can understand people who were like, surely, like United are Villa's bogey team. They literally never, except once, beat you there. Of course, United are going to come away with it. United always win when they're not expected to. So I completely understand that. And normally it's the kind of thing I would feed into. Normally those are the kind of things I would jump onto. But yesterday, it felt like Villa were going to win. Like all day, I woke up feeling like Villa were going to win. And I never do that. So I don't know what it was in the air. But so I suppose for me, Villa were third in the league. They were at the time on a 9-game winning streak. They were looking so good. And I know I've seen people saying, look, they've won matches where they aren't the better team. They're getting by on luck. Eventually it's all going to crumble. It's not consistent. The phrase of the season, is this sustainable? So a lot of people are saying what Villa are doing aren't sustainable. I would say now, at a 10-match winning streak, at some point you're going to have to admit it's sustainable. So I'm not overly surprised. And of course, you have to add into the mix the fact that Manchester United are so erratic at the best of times. We have 3 of our best players. Our whole starting right side is at AFCON. And then we had Casemiro suspended. So the team to begin with was makeshift against a very good Villa, a talented Villa, a Villa with a player that is absolutely on fire in Morgan Rogers before he ever come in to play us. So I wasn't feeling very hopeful. But let's look through the match. So I'm not going to be too dramatic. Let's look through the match, kind of take a quick overview of what happened. But then there's actually some key points I want to talk about that are a little bit more interesting to me than another loss for my team. So look, the match kicks off right at the very beginning. Lammens has to make a really good save to keep us in the match. I think it was about 5 or 6 minutes in, he's making a save, and you're thinking, thank God, like that could have been a much bigger scoreline. If that goes in so early, Villa could just absolutely run away with it. But Lammens makes a save. The whole half is quite a high tempo. Both teams playing quite well, quite back and forth, and both teams getting possessions and shots off. What I would say was, I felt it was a very high tempo game. It was a good start from both teams. I personally felt Villa had the edge, but I do think Manchester United, for the most part, played well in the first half. There was a point in the first half where Emi Martinez took a knee to the head. He had to receive treatment, and it actually looked, because obviously they have to do the concussion protocol, because it looked like quite a heavy knee to the head. The medical team come on, they have to do their concussion protocol, and it looked like the medical team wanted him to come off. It really looked like the medical team wanted him to come off. He is almost arguing with them, saying, no, I'm staying right here. And then you have McGinn going over, kind of asking the medical staff what's going on. And I'm sort of thinking, my understanding was, when it comes to concussion or head injury, the medical staff basically take precedence. They get to make the final call. It looked a bit like they were intimidated, and I don't mean like intimidation in like the really scary way, but his persona is so big, his character is so big. They felt that they couldn't overrule him, that he had the final say. And as they walk off the pitch, you can see the looks of concern on their face. The backup goalkeeper is training on the sideline. He's told to continue training. And I thought, to be honest, we may not see Emi Martinez come back out for the second half. And I just thought it was very interesting. Like, we always talk about players' fitness, players' health, looking after our players, but you can only look after them if they let you. And I think while he seemed fine then for the rest of the match, I did think it was curious that he was sort of allowed to overrule what looked like the medical decision to take him off. So I just wanted to make a little note of that, not specifically about Martinez, but about like that whole procedure and protocol. And I'm sure there's maybe other teams who've seen that, or players that you might be able to relate that to. Have you seen that before? Like with your team, with a team you've been playing, where the player almost overrules the medical staff? And what do you think? Because to me, that's quite dangerous. Obviously, the player is going to want to play on. Obviously, the player doesn't want to come off the pitch in a game like that, a really important, high, fast-paced game. Like, the player's going to want to stay on, and sometimes you have to do what's best for them, even if they don't want you to. So yeah, get your thoughts in on that, because I thought it was an interesting point to bring up. But look, he stayed on. That was it. I felt that United were growing into the half. As the half was going on, I felt like we were getting better and better and better. We were starting to kind of string passes together, string some possession together. We were getting shots off. We looked quite dangerous. And then Bruno feels the back of his leg. And Gary Neville says, oh, Bruno's pulled his hamstring. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh, no. Now, for those of you out there that know, some of you maybe won't, I'm not a massive fan of Bruno Fernandes in terms of his captaincy. I don't think he's a very good captain. In terms of Bruno as a player, I think he has brought an enormous amount to our team. I think we should be very grateful for everything he's done. But I do feel that if somebody was offering us £100 million, I would have taken it and I would have bought a replacement. However, I have seen some silly people saying, oh, well, all the Bruno haters, all the Bruno outers, how do you feel now? I feel devastated, because he's at the moment a key player in our team who plays every minute, and we've just sent 3 other key players to AFCON and we had another key player suspended. So I'm devastated, because whether I think we should keep or sell Bruno, whether I think Bruno is a good captain or not, I certainly think he adds to our team, and I think we're better with him than without him. And I absolutely don't want his hamstring to be done, which it seems to be. I've had a quick look this morning. Again, there's no confirmation of anything, but it does seem to be the hamstring. And Ruben Amorim did say it's soft tissue, so it's likely that he is going to be out for a while. I saw another report saying maybe 4 to 6 weeks for hamstring. We don't know 100%. But look, it was a really difficult match. I want to pull this up on the screen because I forgot earlier as I was talking through it. But look, here we are anyway. So look, then you have, this is where we are. You haven't missed much. You've only missed this line. So at that point, then you're going, look, is Bruno going to have to go off? He sort of seems to signal to the bench a little bit, and then he plays on, but we're right before half time. So he stays on, and you're kind of going, is he going to try and run it off? Like, he's the bionic man. This man is never injured. Is he going to try and run it off? Maybe it's not as bad as it first appeared, but you're panicking. So I just want to say that to people. You can maybe not think a player for your team is the future. It doesn't mean you want them to be injured. Like, you can think a player isn't the best player ever and still want them to be available to be picked. You can see a talent in someone without saying they're world class. Just because you don't think someone's world class, or maybe they're not quite at the level they were, or they're not the direction moving forward, doesn't mean that you think they're a bad player and you don't want to have them available. That's a silly nonsense, and not everything has to be black and white. I don't think Bruno's a great captain. I don't think he's our future, mostly because of his age and also because he's not being used in his main position. But I definitely don't want him to be injured, and I absolutely think we'll feel him not being on the pitch. So it can be both. So just to put that out there for people who struggle with that. And then 5 minutes later, Rodgers scores 1-0 to Villa, and what have I done? Have I skipped it? Have I done them the wrong way around? I might have done them the wrong way around, but look, here we are. Rodgers' first goal. I just thought Yoro didn't close him down. Yoro should have closed him down. Yoro was having a really, really tough spell. And I've seen people saying he's a young player, don't get on his back, and I understand that completely, because if you hammer a young player, it can smush their confidence. However, you do have to be able to criticise mistakes and poor performances without going over the top. He should have closed him down. He should have closed him down. He could have stopped the goal. He didn't. Yoro was having a tough spell ever since Bruno called him out. Bruno called him out a few matches ago for a mistake that actually Bruno had made. He was then dropped by the manager in the following match, and he's been sort of in and out since, and he hasn't been quite right. He's played, he's not played, he's started, he's been subbed, and he's just been not quite right. What I will say, it was his mistake. It did cost us a goal. However, he's a young player, and young players will make mistakes and cost us goals, and we as a team need to be able to carry those mistakes, and last night we couldn't. Then, not long later, Matheus Cunha draws us level. He makes it 1-1. While I was delighted for him getting the goal, and I really was pleased, we were back level before half-time, which was unbelievable. I thought, my goodness, you don't want to go in 1-0 down at half-time. It was great then to get the goal back. I was pleased for Cunha because he's a really likeable character. What I will say is that I'm starting to just feel that he's a little bit wasteful sometimes. He gets into unbelievable positions. He gets so many shots off. He gets so many shots off. But I do feel like he can be a bit wasteful. And I feel like he needs a lot of shots before he gets a goal. And I just feel that we need him to be a bit more clinical. He's a good player. We know what he can do. We're certainly not saying he's not capable. But I feel that he needs to be more clinical, because he missed several chances where we actually could have been ahead in the game. He wasn't the only one, but he's the one that I'm noticing really consistently missing, which means he's getting into the position to take the shots, but we need him to be more clinical. So it's just a little note that I want to make while we're there. Then obviously we go in for half-time. Martinez doesn't come back out. Fernandez doesn't come back out, and we have Lisandro Martinez comes onto the pitch after a long layoff himself. He is in the midfield. Now, as we all know, Lisandro Martinez is actually a defender, but so many people have been asking, can he do a job for us in defensive midfield? We're really stuck. We're low on numbers. The way we're doing it isn't working. Is this a job that Lisandro Martinez can do for Manchester United? Well, last night, I thought he did a brilliant job, a really good job. And as soon as he went into that role, the difference was massive. You could see the difference. The whole team changed. He was so good. And you know what? I was critical of Lisandro Martinez before he went out for this most recent injury, because I felt like from he came back from the World Cup, he wasn't where he was at before it, and I was unimpressed, to be quite honest. He's a player I like. He's a personality our fan base generally likes. I want him to do well, but I thought after he came back from the World Cup, he had quite a spell where he was really below par, and then he got the injury, and I just thought, oh no, that's not good. But from he's come back, that performance last night is the best I have seen him play in ages. And it made me think, oh, have we got Lisandro back? Is the butcher back in town? Not this hungover guy that won the World Cup. Is the butcher back in town? And I have to say, based on last night, I thought yes. So let's keep this man fit. Same as Mason Mount. Keep these men fit. They are important pieces of this team. If we can keep them fit, they can be difference makers. So let's just keep them out of the medical room. Oh. So the camera's falling over, guys. You got to see all my fat rolls. Sorry about that, but here we are. We're back in action. Apologies for that. But yeah, so look, the butcher is back in town. He's back in action. Keep the butcher and Mason Mount fit. These men add to our team. We want to keep them fit. Now, after we had all the good news, after we see Martinez come on, after things are starting to go well, Morgan Rogers scores a second goal, 2-1. Unbelievable. He's unbelievable. He's so good. He was absolutely on fire. He has been on fire, and he's just so good. He's so good, and he's a player you'd love to have on your team. Yaro really struggled with him. What I will also say, though, is Dallo didn't stop the cross, and I would have liked to see Lamans do better on the save. Some of the goals Lamans is letting in are unbelievable. No keeper has a chance. Some of the goals he's letting in, I expect him to do better. He is not getting any clean sheets. While I think he's a good keeper, while I think he's going to be even better, while he's learning, he's still young. We need to start getting some clean sheets. We need to stop conceding so many goals. And there's only so many goals you can concede before you have to look at the keeper. So we need to just start looking at him a little bit in terms of keeping some clean sheets, please. Now, after that, Cunha misses a free header in the box. Could have drawn us level. We could have drawn this match. And that's what I mean. Cunha needs to be more clinical. We know what he can do. He's not firing on all cylinders right now for Manchester United, and we need him to. Ugarte then, and the reason I've written this down, Ugarte gets his yellow at 68 minutes. I was astounded that he didn't already have a yellow because he was committing fouls all over the place. I really thought he was already on a yellow. It says here that the yellow was for a foul. I would suggest the yellow was for accumulation of fouls because he was all over the place. Then later on, so the game goes on, and we, in the 73rd minute, Jack Fletcher. So obviously Ugarte goes off after his yellow card. Xerxes comes on. Sesko goes off, who also needs to be more clinical. And Jack Fletcher comes on, son of Aaron Fletcher. Lovely to see youth getting on the pitch, even in a difficult moment. Really, really, really nice. Obviously then Villa makes some subs, and we get to the 84th minute. Yaro goes off and Shea Lacey comes on. Jack Fletcher did fine when he came on. I didn't think there was anything standout, good or bad, one way or the other. It was just nice to have him on the pitch. But I thought Shea Lacey, he was literally on the pitch and he was making things happen. He was just there and it was all happening. So I just think it was lovely to see. It was really positive, and it was something that's important to us as fans. And it's nice to see that Ruben Amorim is actually capable of putting youth on the pitch, and it's not just international experienced players, because I was worried when that quote came out. So it was a really, really nice thing to see. Shea Lacey looked like he has a bit about him, and I definitely want to see more of this man. We don't know more about Bruno yet at what's happening with him. Obviously, we don't really know what's happening with Manu. Supposedly, he's injured. He might be out for a few weeks. I don't think he's injured. I think he knew about the brothers' t-shirt. I think he's being punished. I think he's out of the team until the January transfer window. I think he might have played his last game for Manchester United. That's my conspiracy theory of the day. I think Manu's gone. So that actually means that while players are at AFCON, while Bruno's out injured, while Manu's also injured, we might see a lot of Jack Fletcher. Jack Fletcher might be his moment. And look, we don't know what's going to happen with Shea Lacey, but hopefully we are also going to see more of him. So look, I'm not absolutely devastated about the result. I'm disappointed. You always want your team to win, but the fact is we just weren't good enough to win. What I did like at the end, and I thought was really lovely, let me just see this, these images at the end of the match of Cunha and Mount comforting Lacey and Fletcher at the end of the match, I just thought was really lovely. And so I'm going to leave it on a really lovely note, seeing these images, seeing our youth, and hopefully we are going to do better in the next match. Have a lovely day, people, and I will speak to you all soon.